Hello, this is Alejandro Bratti from Believe in Yourself, Believe in Your Business, and welcome to Spanglish World Network on Single TV channel 250 and 251. Please remember to download both the Single TV app on respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure to leave a rate and a comment. The app is free. It's available in Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, and all smart TVs. I am really excited to have Hannah here with me. Thank you for accepting this invitation today. I know that we're going to have a lot of fun and really continue learning about ourselves, things that we can grow. So I am excited. Hannah, how are you today?
I am wonderful, Alejandro. I am so thankful just for the network of amazingly heart-centered um, business owners that I just keep connecting with, and I just feel really very blessed to have been connected to you over the last couple of days, and here we are now having another awesome conversation. So yeah, let's go.
Yes, yesterday we have an amazing conversation on LinkedIn. It was amazing with you and Michelle. I know for everybody that is listening right now, we are going to have a summit that is going to start tomorrow. I
Mhm.
believe today is the launch day, but tomorrow starts everything. So if you are looking for something to grow your mindset, start to understand what is not working inside of your head, or inside of your thoughts, I highly recommend you to be there. And you can contact me or contact Hannah how to join us. But really, it's something that you can miss. So, Hannah, I always start this program understanding what are you doing now, and then we're going to go back to your life and why you are doing what you are doing. So let's start with what you are doing now.
Yeah. So, what I do now is that I am an entrepreneurial wealth coach and a financial advisor to visionary entrepreneurs and business owners. And when I say visionary, usually people self identify with that because they understand what it means, but it's that person who has, 14 irons in the fire at any given time that they just have that impetus inside to create and create and create, and so they're always out there, always, taking their ideas and creating something new and creating multiple businesses, multiple income streams. And what happens when you're that visionary and you've got all those things everywhere is it's sometimes really difficult to understand how all of those things work together to help you actually achieve your financial goals, and actually live a prosperous, truly prosperous life where you feel abundant inside and are able to share that abundance on the outside. And so, with these two pieces and working with this, visionary entrepreneur population, I get to help them, create uh I call it a roadmap, to like, this is what you truly want in the world. Let's create the roadmap so that you can do it so true to you that it feels easy and joyful, and that you're creating prosperity for yourself, for your family, for your business, for your community along the way.
And I love this, and really yesterday that we were talking there, I was like, it's really interesting when you are even an entrepreneur that is starting something, and there is a lot of thing that comes to your mind, like blockages and limiting beliefs that start when you have that. Or even if you are a visionary, it's like you create some things, but you don't know how to create a wealth, or those ideas to become really a business that is helping you to to grow and do other things. So I really like what you are doing.
Yeah, thank you. That you hit on a several really important points that I'm sure we'll, circle back to in this conversation. But yeah, being the person that has those ideas and like being able to like truly like birth new ideas into the world does not mean that you also have to know how to implement every part of it. And
Yeah.
so that's the gift of, like, hiring coaching in any area, whether that's, operations or marketing or mindset or financial planning, in my case, it really allows that person to do the piece that they're best at and then stop feeling bad about not being able to do everything else perfectly, right? We put this shame on ourselves. We have this shame and guilt around, especially around money, um, where we feel like we should always have more, or we should be doing a better job, or we shouldn't have spent money on X, Y, or Z. Or there's all of these stories that run through our head that we then hide. We hide what we've done or what we haven't done. We're scared to talk about it. We're scared to actually be open and vulnerable with people, that when we have $1 million in revenue in our business, we only paid ourselves $50,000, right?
Mm.
And to that feels like shame, and what it really is it just is. It is what it is, and we can start from that point and create exactly what you want when we can be aware of and accepting of
Mm.
exactly where you're at right now.
Awesome. And really, that is going to help me to go back to your life and start to see why you love what you are doing. So, if you can help us to understand a little bit from the past, where are you coming from, and even some stories that you can start to say, like, okay, in these areas, I started to live this, and that's why for me this is really important because I wanted to have somebody like me right now in the past. So, a little bit of where are you coming and what created the belief that you can help on this and you are good at this.
Yeah, yeah. There are certain, kind of, I wanna call them flashpoints that I can go back to, that, really from my childhood, even from, like, past, like, coming down from my own parents and grandparents. There's that piece of me, then there's the young adult me, and then there's the me that, was well tenured in her career and knew that there was something more. And what it really draws all the way back to when I was a child was that my parents were entrepreneurs, and my aunts and uncles and my grandparents on both sides, and entrepreneurship and self-employment, is just, like, that's what the majority of my family and my extended family is. And when I was really young, a lot of our own limiting beliefs, a lot of our own stories of, that we hold on to into adulthood are imprinted in that age 0 to 7. And for me, my family was really struggling financially during those years. So as I was growing up, as I was imprinting these money stories, my money stories were all, we don't have enough. There's not enough for what we need, and I certainly can't have what I want. I can't ask for what I want because, I can't even have, the same shoes that my other friends are having, or we can't go to the field trips and spend money, right? Like, if we go somewhere, no, you're not allowed to ask for anything because we're doing as much as we can with what we have. And even though, the businesses that my parents had started to pick up when I was in junior high and high school, um, everything still felt, those money stories were still really, really strong. Um, and a lot of it I blamed on being self-employed. I looked at my friends, and they're, my friends' parents were lawyers, or they worked at Intel, or they worked at, like, they had these jobs where they made a steady salary and things were always normal, and they got to do the sports and they got to have the stuff. And I thought, like, why? Why would you be self-employed when you could just go work for someone else and have them pay for everything, right? Like, give you a salary and it's stable and it's safe. So that's really where I thought I wanted to go. And my first dream job, out of college, as soon as I graduated from college, I worked at a bank. And that felt great, right? Like, steady banker's hours, 9 to 5, get, holidays off. Um, and in that space, I also realized that I really loved the business owners that would come in. I didn't know why. At this point, I had not connected this at all, but I loved the business owners that would come into our little local bank, and they would have their drops. They would have tons of cash, so they would do their cash drops, and they would stay, and we would chat and talk about how their business was going. And sometimes I got to go out and collect their stuff, and I just really got to develop relationships with them, and it was really special to me. And then in my next iteration, my very next job was into financial planning, into like bigger financial services proper.
And let me interrupt you a little bit because I want to go deeper with this. But for me, this is very interesting because if I told you a little bit about my story, I come from, like, I believe like all my family, but I know that some of them were not, but everybody was more an employee
Mhm.
always and having this steady income. But the reality is that even thinking that I have a steady, it was something like this. Sometimes
Mhm.
was good, sometimes was I didn't have money, and I always thought that starting an entrepreneurship was like, okay, finally I can be the owner and I can be, I can have a steady income. But right now, like a steady growing, not only steady but growing income.
Mhm.
Uh, but it has been a process also to be understanding myself and the money thoughts that I had from my past. Like, okay, if I am working for somebody else, I can do whatever. But if I am doing for myself, it like I am selling myself. Suddenly, I don't like to do that.
Yeah.
But and I am bringing this because it's very interesting that you are saying that you came from a family of entrepreneurs and suddenly you are telling me about the same money stories that I had when I was with employees that had a steady income. So at the end, I want to highlight that because it's people that are listening to us can be like, I have been an employee all my life, or my parents and everybody from my family has been employees, and suddenly I have money problems, or vice versa. And at the end, can be the same. It's like
Yeah.
what is happening in your life and what you are thinking about money is coming from whatever case or problem that you are coming through. So this is very, very interesting.
Yes, and that point that you just made, um, it is so interesting because even from both those sides, there's that tendency to be risk averse, right? And so me experiencing the highs and lows of entrepreneurship as a child, that made me very risk averse in
Mm,
that, right? Like I did not want to experience that. I thought that seemed very scary. And then that same story can come up for someone who, yeah, they've only been an employee. It seems very scary, right? And so I have just this different view of it that still, again, it boils down to that same piece inside that we have to examine and be aware of. I think that's
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. No, it's exactly the same because at the end, as an employee, right now it's not like maybe 20, 30 years ago that people can stay in the same job for 20 years and or 30 years, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to get out of this job when I am old, and that's it. It's like, no, like everybody is moving and everything is changing really fast, and thinking that you are an employee and suddenly you are going to have a steady income forever, that is not true. It's like as risky as trying to create your own business.
It is, and I can give my own husband as an example. He is in the tech sector. And there you really like if you stay in a job at this point in time, if you stay for somewhere for more than 5 years, people are wondering like why you aren't a desirable employee. Like why aren't people trying to like pull you away, right? Like it is actually expected that you move in order to, create more. And that also goes back to, the few times where we've experienced economic downturns, he's gone through layoffs where like the entire company, right? Like whittled down to 5 people type thing, and he lost his job during an economic downturn. Guess what? now it's even harder to find a job, right? And so it's like there is not that sense of stability and safety in that sector either when you really truly look at what the possibilities are
Yeah.
versus, the ability to, as an entrepreneur, be able to figure it out. Once you figure out how to figure it out and, know how to make money, how you bring your own genius to the world, then you really are safe. You come from a place of inner safety instead. Like, I know what I can offer, and I know I can package it in different ways whenever I need to make money. And that is truly a gift.
Let's start to talk about that, because right now we are like, okay, finally we are like thinking, okay, if you're an entrepreneur or you are an employee, at the end you can have the same money issues and you can be thinking the same problems, and suddenly you are risky even if you don't want to, and if you are risk averse, doesn't matter. At the end,
Mhm.
risk is in front of you because everything can happen tomorrow.
Right.
COVID came and something can change. So whatever comes can change everything. So when you are working with someone, especially about these money talks that we have inside of our head, what you start to do, like start to create an example. If you are like coaching me right now, let's start to create this process of trying to see, like, okay, if I tell you that I have some money issues, how you are going to find out in my subconscious,
Mm.
and how we start to work with them, so people can start to understand exactly what we are talking about these money issues.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll I'll start with kind of the baggage that comes with the term financial advisor, right? Like, here it is right here on the screen. Um, that just that label carries a lot of baggage because a lot of people see that and think, oh, so what do you do? Do you just like tell me what to invest in? And then, the last person I worked with just sold me life insurance. And then I don't really know where I'm going, right? Like, I don't feel like I understand what's happening better. And so in that very first interaction that I have with people, the main thing that I bring to the table that's very different is a full presence, like being fully present and listening
Mhm.
to the other person on the side, on the other side of the Zoom or the table or wherever we're at. Because the very first piece is that I need to know if I can even help you, right? Like, if what I do is what you need. And in that sense, yes, there is sometimes investments that are involved. But in order to even like get to that investment planning side, we have to examine what you want, what you're feeling about your money, and how aligned you are with the goals that you have for your life. And so where I really start the conversation is, what do you want? What is it that you actually want to create in the world?
Mhm.
And so I can even ask, that's a very open question. What do you want to create, Alejandro? What is it? What is your big vision for your business? Who do you want to impact?
For me, now
Yeah,
that we are
yeah,
doing
for
a
you.
coaching, it's perfect. For me, is I want to impact people to really see the potential that they have, and that's why I even call myself a human potential strategist, is because I am looking to really uh, see the potential, everything that we can create when we start to get out of our mind and everything that we are thinking, that all the limitations that we have, and start to see the possibilities and start to create a new world out of who you really are. So in my case is trying to do first for myself, because I continue working in myself to do that, and second, I have this show because I want to open that to everybody that can listen to that, and if you want to do it one on one, I can do it, or in a group coaching also. But the idea is to really help them to realize their potential and how much they can do if they allow it for themselves.
Mm. Yeah, it's so beautiful. And how do you envision that in your business? How do you want that to actually how do you wanna deliver that? Like, what matters to you? Do you want it to be packaged in a book? Do you want it to be packaged with groups? Do you want it to be packaged on a big stage? What does that look like for you?
Mm, it's different ways. I am writing a book. I am doing this in a show that we have. Last time that we saw the numbers, it's like 500,000 views, so it's huge. I started also doing everything one on one because
Mm,
I love that connection with people. Like, I want to help you directly and understand directly. I understood that that was also a limitation because I can do exactly the same when I am in a group environment. So it's like different ways depending on the people and what they really want. What I love is really to connect and start to share, and start to see like the changes that they are experiencing.
mm, yeah. So we painted this picture, right, of, like, being in a group setting, really connecting with people, really helping people to believe in themselves, to shift their mindset, and that you are there with them while those changes are happening, that you are part of the transformation process. And what does that mean for your life? What does that mean in your home, where you live, where you travel to? What does that look like? Paint that picture for me.
In my home, I have two little kids now.
Mm,
So talking about that, is that's one of the main reasons I am doing this. They are one of the main reasons because I am eliminating all the baggage that I bring from myself, and what I want is open the doors for them. That's one of the things that I am looking for, like start to open the doors. And if at the end they want to be an entrepreneur and an employee, it's okay, either way. But I am opening the door to, like, okay, you can be an entrepreneur also if you want. It's another decision that you can do, because I did it even when I started at the age of 40 to do this, for example.
mhm.
So in my case, that's one of the things. Uh, I love this right now technology that you can do this online, and I can be talking with you, and you are in Cincinnati, I am in Mexico,
Great.
and that it's perfect. I have some connections and customers from different countries, and I can be talking like now with you in Cincinnati. I was talking a few hours with somebody in Germany, another hours ago in from somebody in Dubai. So it's like we are connected everywhere, and
Mhm.
see how we can connect and really impact people from different parts of the world at the same time, and I can be feeling what you are feeling. That's something that it's really powerful. And how I see it is, for me, it's I love traveling. I love connecting with people, knowing new cultures, understanding those cultures. And so I don't know if I am answering completely your question, but
Yes, yeah, I think so, and to your point, creating space for our children. I have 3 kids who are 11, 9, and 7, um, so I'm right there with you, and it's like, I want them to have space. I want them to have the opportunity to see different opportunities in front that are in front of them, see that they can create whatever it is they want in the world, and to really understand other people from a human to human connection, right? Like being in kindness, living in love. Those things are extremely important to me to help my children understand, and knowing that connection there, that that's a legacy that I want to leave in the world is from through my children. Um, and the traveling and the, like all of those things that we do in order to connect with people, right? Like at the very core of it is usually connection. And how do we
Yeah.
connect with people more? Um, so yeah, so there, we would paint. We would go even further. We would spend, a whole hour just diving into what it is that, like, all the pieces of what you really want to create. And then look at how are you doing that now? Like, what are the steps? What are the processes that you're going through right now to create that? And where it is in your time that you're spending. What are you spending your money on right now? Are you spending your money on the things that you really care about, or are you spending money on things that you think you should care about that you don't care about?
Mm,
That's one of the biggest leaks that people have in their time, in their finances, and in their energy. What
mm,
are you spending your time, your money, your energy on that is not in service to that big goal, that is not in service for you, Alejandro, for connecting with more people, and,
mm,
connecting with your children and traveling and creating, right? What are you spending your time, money, and energy on that can be better channeled, laser focused on that vision that you have? Um, and that's the start of the process. That's where we dig in deep. And at the same time, it feels peaceful and it feels easy because it's just a conversation as we reveal deeper and deeper levels of what's going on. Um, and that's where we start to uncover all the pieces of, this is where we want to go. Here's how we built the roadmap. Here's where you are now. Here's the destination up here. Um, I liken it to, if you're in Mexico City and you wanna get to San Diego, you don't just, like, start walking off in some direction and hope you get there. You might hit the Atlantic Ocean, right, or the Pacific Ocean. You're like, "Well, that I didn't go the right direction," right? Like, we wanna know, what is it that you actually wanna create? We'll call that
mm,
San Diego. Right now, you're in Mexico City. How do we get from here to there in the straightest line possible?
mm.
And how do we it might be that we walk for a little bit, and then run for a little bit, and then drive in a car for a little bit, and then take the quantum leap and jump in an airplane for the rest of it, right? Like, there are so many ways to get from Mexico City to San Diego,
Yeah.
and that's the choice. You have all of those options available to you once you become aware of them.
Mm. That's really really nice. So one of the ideas that I bring now that I want to share with you, because yesterday, incredible, I was not thinking about this, but yesterday I was listening to a person that I really enjoy, one of my coaches, and we were talking a little bit about this, and it's very interesting because today we have this conversation with you, and it was talking about some limiting beliefs that we create about wealth. So I am going to read them to you, some of them, so everybody is here listening to that, and if you relate, it's fine. If you don't relate, it's fine also. Sometimes we have some of this, sometimes we don't. So, most common limiting beliefs about wealth is: first, I don't deserve it.
Mhm,
Second, I have to work hard for money.
mhm,
Third, the price I pay for wealth is too high. Working for money makes you sick. Pursuing money is bad. Only bad people go after money. When I get wealth, other people suffer. There is not enough to go around. I can keep it, and I'm not skilled enough to get more money.
yeah. Yes, those are powerful, and the very first one, that I don't deserve it, that one sits sometimes that's the hard one to find.
Mm,
I think yesterday was that in our conversation maybe, we were talking about, there are people who are afraid. They're afraid of failure, and there are people that are afraid of success.
yeah.
And you when you're, like, in creation mode and you're like, "Oh, I just want this to go through," it seems crazy to think that you would be afraid of success. And yet, I have had conversations with people who have been business owners for like decades, for so many years, and they are afraid to charge enough for their services that they make enough money that they would pay taxes.
Mm.
Their limiting belief was, if I make more money, I have to pay taxes, so I have to, like, be able to deduct everything. Otherwise, everything's gonna go away. And when I encountered that for the first time, I almost was, like, not sure what to do with that thought because I mean, it was so clear for me, from my perch, like, looking at down at the situation, like, well, if you wanna do a retreat, you charge enough for the retreat that, yeah, you can take home some money. How much do you wanna make from doing this retreat? And when I said that, this person was like, "Oh, but what if I don't, what if I don't have enough deductions?" I said, "Well, then you carve off some for taxes, right? You can portion off a little bit and say, I'm gonna pay my taxes with this money and use the rest. You can use that for your life. You don't have to, run at zero, because most business owners are not corporations. Most business owners are single owners, right? Sole proprietorships. They are called pass through. So whatever income you make, you receive and you pay taxes on. And it's okay,
Mm.
right? It's okay for you to make an abundant amount of money. You can make as much money as you can possibly imagine. And as long as you siphon off some for taxes, if you put it over here, it will always be okay. You can pay your taxes and you can live your life. And that literally um that conversation I had with that group, I mean, it was multiple people in that group that were doing the same thing and they were like like, "Oh, I can plan for the taxes?" Like, "Yes, you can plan for the taxes and you can keep more money for yourself so you can save for your retirement. So you can not have to work. You can choose to work," right? Like, that's what a lot of us want is that we want the freedom to decide. And in
Mm.
order to do that, you have to make enough money in order to fund your lifestyle.
That is really good. So let's go back to your story when you were like, because I think that this relates a lot. So you get out of that bank, and what started to happen there? How you started to? What I want to know is more like the life that you were going through and the thing that you started to realize, and how you started to realize like, wow, I am having all these money issues or money thoughts that are limiting me right now, and how you overcome them.
Yeah, so when I moved into the financial planning sector, um, that's a whole story in itself, but as I was, really, like, into the job that I was in for about 13 years, or with the firm that I was with for 13 years, um, I was young. I was 23 when I started, and, this was back in 2007, and I was so driven. That's a big piece of who I am. I'm highly driven. I am a big, achiever. Any of my personality profiles always come through in that vein, that maverick, the achiever, the out in front, the do all this stuff. And I really was passionate about I loved finance and I was really passionate about just doing a good job and being really supportive in this practice. And so a big piece of me was just like, I just wanted to learn and do and learn and do. And that was the piece that a lot of especially young women, This is young men too, but a lot of women in particular are, like, I have to do everything right in order to progress. And I wanted to progress. I wanted to move up the ladder. I wanted to become an advisor. And so I was doing all the stuff, doing all the right things to get there. And eventually, um, I had my 3 children and I worked at home, for a while. I was one of the first, remote employees, when I had my first daughter in 2011. I started working from home, doing the job I was doing. And so by the time my youngest, was almost 2, I was ready. I was ready for a bigger challenge. I let myself be in the stability for a while because my kids were little. I was the breadwinner for a while. Um, and I let myself be rest in that stability. And when it was time, when everything was waking up, this was a fun money story, that I think a lot of people will relate to. In about 2015, so I was this, achiever. No matter what, I always did a great job. I would get 7 to 10% raises every single year, in my job. And then in about 2015, I got a 5% raise. And what I was told was, "It's not that we would normally give you a bigger raise, you're doing great still, but you're about hitting the cap of what we wanna pay for your position." And immediately inside, I was like, "Oh, this isn't as much as no, I don't wanna stop here." Like, this is not the amount of money that I know my skills and my talent and all that, like, I wasn't ready to top out at what they were saying, and so that was the point where I was like, "I'm ready. I'm ready for more. I want more of a challenge. I want to actually be the advisor. I can do it. I can do the sales. I can do, the prospecting. I love the relationship building, and that's my favorite side of it." And then this part, at that time, the sales part felt really scary, but I was ready. I was ready to try. And through the next couple of years, I was, I wanna say promised, but what was told to me was that, "Okay, well, you're really amazing at building relationships, so what we'll do is we'll have you be the successor for this advisor who's gonna retire." He was in his 70s, had a wonderful book of clients, like beautiful humans. And so I did. I spent a couple of years getting to know those people. And the whole point was that I was going to take on those clients. And I was going to immediately bump up to, $250,000 a year, $300,000 a year, just from working with these clients. And I wouldn't have to sell. That was like the key, right? Like, I wouldn't have to do a lot of selling because most of it was just maintaining relationships and getting referrals from people who love you. Like, I can do that. And so, what happened throughout that process was that as I met the clients, I really realized, and had the experiences of not not fitting into that practice. That as I realized that I really wanted to work with business owners, and I really didn't wanna work with this population of clients that was being handed to me. um, it started to really pull at me, and it started to, affect how I was prospecting, and I had a really hard time selling. I had a really hard time selling in the way that they were trying to teach me to sell. It all felt very manipulative. It all felt very bait and switch. Bait and switch? Yeah, that's the word. Like everything that all everything you think of when you think of like used car salesman, right? That's what it always felt like to me to get people into my world. And when it wasn't working, suddenly, because it didn't work and it still doesn't work very well, suddenly I was not performing, and suddenly I was not gonna be good at the job that they thought I was gonna be good at. And so I saw they started taking things away, like, "Oh, we're not gonna do this. Oh, we're not gonna do this." And I saw this dream just, like, crumbling in front
Mm,
of me. And that for the achiever that always, right, always does what she has to do, always does more than what she has to do, is always the star, always, doing the right thing. It was crushing. It was crushing to my soul to be failing at something
Mm.
and to feel the impact of that and like, no, you're gonna be stuck at $70,000. You're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make more money. You're not gonna get those clients. You're not going to be able to bring new clients in the door. You know, like you're stuck. You're stuck. You're stuck. You're stuck. And in that space of, just really feeling desperate almost, like experiencing all of the stories going on, like, from that I'm hearing from everywhere, and then still putting myself out, like, still trying, still trying. There was one conversation finally where they were like, "Well, we just didn't think," you never know what someone's gonna actually do in a position, right? So they didn't say me, but I was the only one there in the conversation. So they could have just said it. But that was the thing. That was what they needed to say in order for my what I've now realized is my higher self,
Mm.
that she came up and said, "They don't know who you are. They don't know who they are wrong about you. They don't know who you are." And I didn't necessarily know exactly who I was at that time either, but I knew that something inside of me was here to help bring prosperity to the world. And something was there about building relationships and supporting entrepreneurs like that. All of the steps that were guiding me there, I felt so deeply in my soul that that was right. And my higher self was basically screaming at that point, like, this is not the place where you stay. And when I finally surrendered to that and listened to her, and started exploring, right? Okay, if I don't stay here, what are my other options? What else can I do? It led me exactly down the path. Still more heartbreak, still more like interviewing at other firms and not getting the job and interviewing and not, I mean, it was like there was heartbreak over and over until I finally surrendered to the fact that no, you are an entrepreneur. Like, you know this path. You have walked it your entire life, and then you avoided it. Like, I'm not gonna go down that path until it was the only option finally in front of me that made sense. It's like my higher self, like, put me in all those positions to, like, see, nope, that's not the right one. See, oh, that's
Mhm.
not the right one. That's not the right this is your
And what do you think helped you more at that moment? Like, I know that for some people can be reading a book. Something can be like going to some personal development
mm.
or some coaching, or it was just like life helping you. Like you have to see it. You are going through difficulties right now, a lot of struggles. Now you have to find out how to get away of this, and it's your, as you're saying, your higher self. What the help that you had to really start to open your eyes to see the possibilities?
Yeah, so there are 2 pieces to that that are really powerful. One is mentorship.
Mm,
I had a mentor who, she was a woman in the industry. She was not in my practice. She was at the same, firm overall, but she was in Texas, I was in Ohio. And she had built a badass practice, like a really amazing practice, and she had associate advisors that she paid well and that she, gave them the roadmap to here's how you buy your practice, here's how you have equity ownership. And she was mentoring me.
mm,
She took me under her wing, and was mentoring me. And as we worked together for pretty much a whole year, like trying to figure out how to get clarity on the situation I was in, there was one point where she was like, I really am not sure that I should say this, but I feel like they're just not the right fit for you. And that was like, she technically shouldn't have said that, but that's what was coming through her. She's like, I don't think they're ever going to be the people that you think that they should be, right? And that's a whole story in and of itself too. But between her and a therapist that I had started seeing, it was the same. Like, what do you want to create in this life? And what do you want to create there at that firm?
mm,
And can you actually do that? And my therapist said the same thing. She was like, I don't think you're going to be able to make that there. And it was these people, right, that I trusted, that I helped, or I allowed them to see all of me, and both of them were saying the same thing. And they,
Wow.
again, like, not, they should
And
not
it
have,
was like an against you
right,
if
yeah.
you wow.
Yeah. And so it was those, my mentor and my therapist at that time, and then some reading. There was, I read, and I still do, I read a ton. And there was a particular moment listening to Dare to Lead by Brene Brown, where I was running, and I can still see myself running. I was running, I was getting out some, like, just really frustrated energy. And it came to the point where she said, you either believe that people are doing the best that they can, or you don't. There are only two types of people in the world: those that believe that everyone is doing the best they can, and those that don't. And the people who believe that everyone is just doing the best that they can with what they have are happier, more successful, more resilient, and more capable in life. And I had heard it before, and I did not like it. I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I do not believe that. And for whatever reason, this time in this run, it hit me that that was true, and
Mm.
that I was trying to change the partners in my practice. They were doing the best that they could with what they had, and I didn't have to stay there. I could go and leave and create something else. And that was pivotal. That was pivotal for me. So, in the time since then, it's been mentorship and reading, and, like, coaches what that helped me in different ways. But yeah, I really have invested, in myself through coaching and through learning.
That's really cool, and I wanted to bring that because the idea is like we can do it by ourselves, or we can get some help. With some help, you can do it quicker.
Yes.
So uh, I love your story, and for me, it's incredible that we already have the 50 minutes of the program. We are like, okay, let's start. Like now, it's the good part, and it's like, okay, we are finished. But I am going to invite you again to be here and connect and continue talking what we are talking, because I believe it was amazing. So if somebody is starting to hear right now and it's like, okay, I have some issues with money, or I don't know how to create wealth because I am not good at that or whatever. If you have to give one advice, blind advice, because they are you don't know what is happening with them, or you don't know anything about that, but something that has helped you until now, what is that?
That for every single human, so it doesn't matter where you are right where you're supposed to be right now. And so wherever you are, whatever your situation is right this second, that is where you're supposed to be, and that is your launching point. That you are not stuck, that you are not set in stone, but that when you allow yourself to dream of what you want next, this where you are right now is simply your launching point to whatever comes.
Wow, and I love that. So thank you. So if anybody wants to contact you, they want to know more about you, they want to see what else they can do, how they can find you.
I am all over social media. I love Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. On Instagram, I am hannah.chapman.cfp. On LinkedIn, I'm Hannah Chapman, HANNAHCHAPMAN. And my website is X and then the number two wealthplanning.com. So you can find me in any of those places. And absolutely adore connecting with people and hearing people's stories. So yes, reach out. I would love to talk to you.
So thank you, Hannah. It was really amazing. I enjoy every single second that we were today. And everybody, thank you for being here with us today. We believe really what you want to see, and everything. If you are exactly where you are, have to be, and it's exactly what Han is saying. So I really enjoy that. Everybody, this show can also be heard on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and leave it. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you all.
Thank you.